In a hidden village far from the outside world, strength is just an everyday thing. Even children there can wrestle with dragons like their pets. From this extraordinary place comes a boy named Lloyd. To the outside world, he looks like nothing more than an ordinary kid. But in reality, his power is terrifying. For him, defeating a demon lord would be as easy as swatting a fly. Our story begins in the forest. Lloyd, still very young, tries to hunt a rabbit, only to end up getting beaten by it. Tearful and frustrated, he's comforted by his older brother Shoma, who easily catches the creature. Lloyd looks up to him with admiration, always dreaming of one day exploring the wider world. Before leaving again, Shoma gives Lloyd a gift, a book filled with tales of ancient heroes. That single moment sparks Lloyd's determination to become a soldier and follow in his brother's footsteps. Years later, Lloyd finally sets out beyond his village. He stumbles upon the home of a witch named Marie, hoping only for shelter while he prepares for the military exams. At first, Marie is annoyed, thinking he's just another clueless traveler. But when Lloyd reveals he's from Kunlun village and shows a magical orb that projects their chief, Alka, Marie's entire attitude changes. Alka, who was once Marie's master, commands her to take care of Lloyd, leaving Marie no choice but to accept the boy under her roof. Despite her frustration, Marie quickly realizes Lloyd isn't as helpless as he seems. On his very first day, he cooks her a warm breakfast, something she hasn't enjoyed in ages. Through casual conversation, Lloyd talks about his grueling 6-day journey on foot, completely unaware that the monsters he casually fought off on the way, like fire-breathing lizards and giant mantises, are terrifying creatures to normal people. To him, they're no different than bugs. His innocent nature and overwhelming strength leave Marie constantly torn between affection and exasperation. Meanwhile, in the bustling city nearby, people prepare for a grand festival. Among them is a mysterious girl hiding her face under a cloth. When a soldier recognizes her as Princess Selen, she quickly slips away into the alleys. There, a monstrous mantis attacks her, and just when things seem dire, Lloyd appears. In a single effortless move, he crushes the beast and helps her to her feet, gently wiping the dust from her face with his enchanted handkerchief. For the first time in her life, someone treats her with genuine kindness. What Lloyd doesn't realize is that Selen carries a painful curse that forces her to cover her face. Years ago, even magicians failed to heal her, but a prophecy promised that one day someone would appear to lift it. After Lloyd's touch, she discovers her curse has mysteriously vanished, and she knows exactly who freed her. Back at Marie's house, Lloyd returns with groceries and even a small gift for her, showing his thoughtful nature. But elsewhere, the city's soldiers remain on high alert. Rising tensions with neighboring nations have put everyone on edge. Among them is Matthios, a senior officer, tasked with monitoring dangerous individuals like Riho Flavin, known as the one-armed mercenary. With countless warrants against her, she's considered a major threat. Yet thanks to a contract, she's temporarily working with the army, her freedom hanging by a thread. And as fate would have it, Lloyd's path is about to cross with both the princess and the mercenary, setting the stage for trials far beyond anything he's imagined. After Lloyd unknowingly lifted Princess Selen's curse, her devotion to him grew almost worshipful. To her, he wasn't just a boy, he was the one destined to free her. This creates tension when Lloyd later meets Riho, a mercenary with a mechanical arm. Curious and innocent, Lloyd treats her arm like a fascinating gadget, which unsettles Riho, because the sheer pressure of his aura feels less like a child's curiosity and more like a monster sitting beside her. Before Riho can even explain herself, Selen barges in, jealously pushing her aside. To Selen, Lloyd is untouchable, and she won't let anyone get too close. Not long after, the military entrance tests begin. Each candidate is tasked with demonstrating their skills, from magic control to combat accuracy. Senior Officer Matthios keeps a sharp eye on Lloyd, knowing deep down that this quiet boy carries unimaginable power. Riho, however, is warned in advance. If she stirs up any trouble, her past crimes could send her straight to prison. Meanwhile, far from the training grounds, Alka reappears to check on Lloyd's progress. Despite her overwhelming power and cold demeanor, even she worries whether he'll pass the exam. That evening, the results are posted, and to everyone's shock, Lloyd's name is nowhere to be found. For the first time, he begins doubting himself, believing he wasn't good enough. While the newly accepted recruits gather for orientation, Matthios grows restless. In his mind, it's impossible for someone like Lloyd to fail. He knows exactly how dangerous and how important Lloyd could be for their kingdom. But politics soon interrupt his thoughts. Another urgent problem has surfaced. Princess Maria has gone missing, and whoever finds her will be handsomely rewarded. Meanwhile, Lloyd, disheartened by his failure, wanders the city and notices a "Help Wanted" sign outside a restaurant. Hoping to stay busy until next year's exam, he steps inside and asks for work. Instead of welcoming him, the suspicious owner attacks, thinking Lloyd is some kind of thief. But when Lloyd easily avoids the strike, his calm aura alone terrifies the man. Assuring him he's no criminal, Lloyd offers to prove himself through cooking. His knife skills, speed, and precision shock everyone. It looks like he's been training as a chef for years. While Lloyd innocently chops vegetables, Matheus and the others secretly investigate why he failed. They discover something bizarre. In his written test, instead of normal answers, Lloyd filled the paper with strange drawings. At first they look like childish doodles, but upon closer inspection they realize they're ancient runes. Symbols only legendary scholars could write. Combined with reports that he summoned rain during the practical exam, they finally grasp the truth. Lloyd isn't weak. He's far more powerful than they ever imagined. Back at the restaurant, the owner hesitates before tasting Lloyd's dish, half expecting it to be poisoned. But the moment he takes a bite, he's stunned. The flavor is so refined, so perfect, it feels impossible for a boy this young to create it. Introducing himself as Chroma, the owner decides to hire Lloyd on the spot. To him, this is no ordinary boy. This is someone the world will soon come searching for. At the same time, Matheus, Selin, Riho, and their group intensify their search for Lloyd. They're torn between finding Princess Maria and tracking down the mysterious boy who failed the exam. But fate is already weaving their paths together. And soon, Lloyd's quiet life will collide with dangers far greater than he's prepared for. Inside the restaurant, tempers flared when Lloyd suddenly appeared carrying food for the guests. Everyone froze in shock. What was this kid doing here? The others scolded the old owner, demanding to know if he even realized who he had hired. But before they could argue further, Lloyd quietly slipped outside. On the way, he ran into Marie, who was being chased by men in black. At the same time, Selin was shown causing chaos of her own, yanking a soldier's chest hair because he dared block her search for Lloyd. Enraged, the knight Alan drew his sword, determined to punish her. But just as he lunged, Selin's enchanted belt sprang to life and disarmed him. To Selin, this miracle could only mean one thing. It was a blessing from her beloved Lloyd. Moments later, Lloyd himself arrived, making Selin's heart leap. She proudly declared that her future husband would take her place in battle. The crowd grew tense as Matheus pressured Alan into fighting the boy. At first, Alan laughed it off, insisting he would never lower himself to duel a child. But Matheus forced his hand, and soon, everyone gathered to witness Lloyd's strength for themselves. Alan smirked, giving Lloyd the first strike. To him, this was a show of mercy. But when Lloyd raised his tiny fist, the spectators panicked. His punch carried the weight of a storm. Before Alan could be struck, a powerful gust swept through the arena. In the blink of an eye, Lloyd vanished. Marie had whisked him away, saving Alan's life without anyone realizing it. In private, Marie scolded Lloyd, demanding to know why he was about to fight without her permission. But Lloyd, ever naive, thanked her instead, believing she had rescued him from danger. Soon after, Chroma appeared. Recognizing Marie immediately, he bowed before her, revealing his past as a former soldier who left the army to run this cafe. Marie confided in him about the looming threat. During the upcoming international summit, their kingdom would almost certainly be attacked. If war with the Geo Empire began, countless innocents would die. This revelation weighed heavily on Matheus as well. Haunted by memories of his own village being destroyed years ago, he vowed not to let such tragedy repeat. Meanwhile, Selin grew restless, desperate to see Lloyd again. Her wish was granted sooner than expected. At a witch's home, both Selin and Riho were stunned when Lloyd himself opened the door. Selin panicked at the thought of him living with another woman, but convinced herself that their bond was unshakable. Lloyd served them tea with a smile, but tension grew the moment Marie casually strolled in. The truth unraveled quickly. Marie wasn't just any girl. She was actually Princess Maria in disguise. Though she tried to hide it, Rio and Selin pieced it together, forcing Marie to reveal her identity. She explained that Lloyd hailed from the legendary village of Kunlun, a place thought to exist only in myths, and that her enemies planned to use her as the spark for a devastating war. Understanding the gravity of the situation, Riho and Selin pledged to fight alongside her. That night, Marie reflected on her heavy burden, but Alka suddenly appeared, furious that Marie had defied her orders. Their argument ended with Alka angrily shoving a drink into her hands as the festival day crept ever closer. When the celebrations began, Celine and Riho scoured the crowds for information, while Alka tried to distract Lloyd with games and treats. But despite her efforts, he couldn't shake his sadness, knowing a war was brewing and feeling powerless to help. Just as the festival reached its peak, a thunderous roar split the night. Massive monsters stormed the square, tearing through the crowd, and in that moment, Lloyd's quiet world was shattered once again. Back at the royal palace, Matios and Chroma stood before the king, awaiting his command. But then Chroma quietly revealed the truth. He had already met Princess Maria, and she was alive, fighting alongside her friends to stop the coming war. What shocked him even more was realizing that the true mastermind behind the chaos wasn't the enemy empire. It was Matthias himself. Matthias had manipulated the king, plotting to strike first and ignite a full-scale conflict before the Geo Empire could. But before he could tighten his grip, Maria arrived with Selene and Riho, exposing his schemes once and for all. Laughing off their accusations, Matthias mocked them, boasting that the king was still under his control. Yet, in a sudden twist, the king turned against him, because something far darker had already taken over his body. A demon spirit revealed itself, transforming the king into a vessel of pure destruction. In desperation, it cursed Matthias, twisting his body into a monstrous form as well. Riho bravely engaged Matthias in combat, while Maria raced to confront her possessed father. She unleashed her full power, but the demon inside him was relentless. For a moment, it even tricked her with her father's real face, striking her down while savoring her pain. Overwhelmed, Maria thought of Lloyd, the boy whose heart she had hurt, and swore she wouldn't die without apologizing. But when the demon revealed its identity as the Demon King himself, Maria realized she was facing the greatest evil of all. Meanwhile, in the festival square, Lloyd was still battling hordes of monsters. Though Alka tried to keep him distracted, he knew he had to help Maria. Remembering her words about Kunlun villagers appearing only when humanity could no longer fight, Lloyd finally understood. This was his moment. Elsewhere, Alan cowered in fear, hiding from the beasts. But when he saw Lloyd casually defeat a massive monster with just a flick of his finger, he was stunned. If a child could fight to protect the kingdom, how could he run away? Summoning his courage, Alan joined the fray. High above the city, Alka cast an enormous magic circle, obliterating waves of monsters in a single strike. But inside the palace, Matthias's monstrous form kept Riho and Selene pinned down. Selene's enchanted belt shielded her once again, which she, of course, believed was Lloyd's divine protection. Just as the fight grew desperate, Lloyd finally arrived. Ignoring Selene's dramatic attempt to hug him, Lloyd rushed to check on Chroma first, asking if he was safe. Then he calmly confronted Matthias, questioning why a soldier would betray his own people. With nothing more than a finger's push, Lloyd overpowered him. Matthias tried to fight back, but Lloyd ended it with a simple headbutt that knocked the corrupted soul right out of him. Before he could finish the battle, Maria rushed in. Despite once pushing Lloyd away, now she knew only he could save her. And as the Demon King appeared, Lloyd, still too innocent to understand, addressed him as Uncle and urged him to leave the dangerous battlefield. Maria quickly revealed the truth. The Demon King was the monster controlling her father, a being that desired nothing but destruction. In an absurd but strangely fitting twist, Maria asked Lloyd to clean him up. The boy pulled out his magical handkerchief and literally wiped the Demon King down. Embarrassed and humiliated, the Dark Lord vanished, grumbling that no ruler of darkness had ever met such a ridiculous end. With that same handkerchief, Lloyd healed Maria's wounds, and she finally embraced him, apologizing with tears in her eyes. The next morning, the festival resumed in peace. While wandering through the city, Lloyd reunited with his older brother, Shoma, who praised him for defeating the Demon King at such a young age. But Shoma hadn't just come for congratulations. He was searching for answers of his own. Watching from afar, Alka grew suspicious of his arrival. Later, she cornered Matthias, who was barely surviving in the wilderness after his defeat. Instead of killing him, she dragged him to her golden fields, reminding him that true strength lay in protecting life, not destroying it. As punishment, she ordered him to stay and tend the crops for the rest of his days. When Alka returned home, she caught Lloyd changing clothes, which immediately set off Maria's jealousy. Furious, she tossed him outside, refusing to let another woman get close to him. But Lloyd soon emerged proudly wearing a soldier's uniform, the proof that after defeating the Demon King, he had earned a place at the Royal Academy. Seeing him in uniform, both Selen and Riho couldn't help but argue over him again, while Alka simply watched, her heart quietly softening. The next night, we see Lloyd, Mary, and Chroma traveling together toward a quiet village. But Mary isn't just sightseeing. She brought Lloyd here for a reason. Hidden beneath the ground lies a legendary holy sword, set in prophecy to grant the power to rule the world to anyone who can pull it free. For years, no one had succeeded, until Lloyd casually lifts it like it's nothing more than a toy. The village chief is left speechless, but rather than keeping it for himself, Lloyd doesn't even seem impressed. Mary suggests they use it as proof. The world needs to see that this was the real holy sword, and that Lloyd was chosen by destiny. The next day, training at the academy resumes, and Lloyd's sheer strength terrifies everyone. While his classmates struggle with basic spells, Lloyd's attacks either miss completely or obliterate targets far too easily. He's clearly not normal, and that's exactly what sets him apart. Meanwhile, a new storm is brewing. Two sisters, Mina and Philo, arrive at Mary's home, searching for Riho. They introduce themselves as students from a rival magic academy, but before they can explain further, Lloyd walks in. Without hesitation, Philo launches a powerful kick at him, only to realize it has zero effect. Stunned by his strength, she instantly declares she'll follow him anywhere, even as a servant. Mary, unimpressed, literally kicks both sisters out of her house. But the drama doesn't stop there. Alka arrives and scolds Mary for sneaking away with Lloyd to the Holy Sword Village without her. In a fit of jealousy, she curses Mary, transforming her into a butterfly until she learns her lesson. Back at the academy, students prepare for the upcoming inter-school competition against the powerful Rockjo Magic Academy. This year, the pressure is higher than ever. Among their rivals is a cunning woman named Ryol, a former classmate of Riho, now using her political schemes to climb her way into power. She tries persuading Riho to switch sides, but Riho refuses. Meanwhile, Lloyd struggles with something else entirely, feelings he can't put into words. Sitting quietly with Mary, he admits he wants to get closer to someone but doesn't know how. Mary, blushing, thinks he's talking about her and encourages him to be brave and confess his feelings. But to her heartbreak, Lloyd later asks Riho out on a date. The scene cuts to Lloyd and Riho sitting together at a cafe. Riho finally opens up about her past, how she grew up in an orphanage, met her friend Revul, and was given a mechanical arm by Riol after suffering a devastating injury. At first, she thought the arm would help her support her orphanage, but guilt and self-doubt drove her away. She confesses she's felt like a failure ever since. Lloyd, in his usual simple but honest way, reassures her that she isn't defined by the arm or her past. What matters is who she chooses to be now. Soon, the inter-school battle begins. The Cannon sisters face off against Riho and Selen. But before the match can really escalate, a second-year prodigy named Minoko interrupts. She demands to fight Lloyd, claiming she's heard endless rumors about his strength. To test him, she challenges Philo first, but is instantly defeated by a single counterattack. Furious and embarrassed, Minoko storms off to heal her wounds. Later that evening, Minoko visits Mary in private, and it's revealed the two already know each other. But what exactly connects them, and why Minoko disappeared from Mary's life, remains a mystery for now. As the chaos unfolded, Lloyd unexpectedly found himself dragged into the spotlight again. What started as a simple school competition quickly turned into something much bigger. The reward? A legendary holy sword. An artifact so powerful that even the strongest students froze in shock, wondering how it had been brought out of its sealed place. Before the matches even began, old rivalries flared. Heated words were exchanged and fists nearly followed, but the referee reminded everyone, only magic was allowed. No physical attacks. Anyone breaking that rule would be instantly disqualified. The first battle was brutal. Philo unleashed a storm of magical strikes, cornering her opponent Celine. Normally, Celine's enchanted belt would protect her, but this time it failed. Desperate, Celine broke the rules, trying to bind Philo with her belt. The crowd gasped, and before she could land another blow, the referee called it disqualified. Then came the moment everyone was waiting for. Lloyd's fight against Mina. She tried to drown him, trapping his head in a swirling sphere of water. For most people, that would have been the end. But Lloyd stood calmly for half an hour, completely unaffected, as if he didn't even need air. Frustrated, Mina summoned a massive wall of water. That's when Lloyd finally moved, unleashing only a fraction of his strength. The sheer force blasted Mina into the arena walls, leaving the audience speechless. Victory was his. The final match pitted Riho against Rao. Rao thought she had the advantage, quickly ripping away Riho's mechanical arm. But Riho had been hiding a trick of her own, a magical stone infused with healing magic. With it, she restored her strength mid-battle and delivered a powerful strike that looked physical but was charged with magic. Rao crumbled and Riho claimed the win with a smirk, but the story didn't end with the tournament. Later that night, Lloyd discovered his home ransacked and Mary missing, a letter warning him to come to the lighthouse if he wanted her back. Furious, he set off only to be intercepted by Philo, who wanted revenge for her sister's defeat. Instead of an all-out battle, Lloyd challenged her to an arm wrestling match, a tradition from his village. The sheer force of their clash shook the ground, creating gusts of wind like a brewing storm. Philo was stunned, realizing just how much strength he truly carried. Meanwhile, deeper in the shadows, a mysterious old man erased parts of Riho's memory, whispering about his goal: to seize the Holy Sword and unlock the entrance to the last dungeon, a place said to hold the power to kill even Alka. His identity remained hidden, but his ambitions threatened the entire world. And far from the arena, the Kinono sisters stumbled upon the body of their comrade. No wounds, no signs of struggle. A few days later, summer vacation finally arrived and everyone began planning how to spend their break. Riho shyly asked Lloyd if he'd join her for a trip, hoping they could explore together. But before he could answer, Selene appeared out of nowhere, sulking. Her family had ordered her to return home, but in her dramatic fashion, she muttered that if burning her own house down was what it took to spend the holidays with Lloyd, then so be it. Riho and Selene ignored him completely and dragged Lloyd away. Back at home, another argument was brewing. Mary and Alka were fighting over who deserved to spend summer with Lloyd, but he had already made up his mind. Chroma had offered him a part-time job at a luxurious hotel, and Lloyd accepted. When Alka and Mary begged to tag along, he flat out refused. The next day, Lloyd arrived at the hotel and was immediately greeted by its nervous owner, Koba Lemaine, a former royal guard. Despite his intimidating past, Koba treated Lloyd with surprising respect. He explained that strange things had been happening at the hotel, guests mysteriously falling into deep sleep without reason. Nobody knew what caused it. Lloyd was introduced to Kiku, a lazy worker tasked with showing him around. She tried to dump menial chores on him, handing him a broom. But before she could even finish her instructions, Lloyd had already cleaned the massive hall in seconds, sparkling from floor to ceiling. Kiku was stunned, muttering that there had to be something supernatural about him. Soon after, Koba asked Lloyd to help welcome an important guest, Lord Canine, a man with a fearsome reputation. Surprisingly, instead of clashing, Lloyd impressed him with his politeness and sharp eye for detail. Their unexpected bond left everyone in the hotel baffled, since Lord Canine rarely took a liking to anyone. But beneath the surface, Canine had come with a mission. He believed that a mysterious tree planted near the hotel was responsible for the strange sleeping incidents. Kiku whispered her suspicions, that Lloyd himself might be behind it. Testing him, she offered Lloyd a cup of tea laced with a strange herb, only for Koba to snatch it and drink it himself, unknowingly taking the bait. Things escalated when Rio checked into the hotel for her own vacation, only to be shocked finding Lloyd working there. Even more awkward, she accidentally booked a massage session, and Lloyd was assigned. Flustered, she nearly bolted at the idea of receiving a massage from him, while Lloyd innocently apologized for his poor service. Meanwhile, Celine's father brought her to the same hotel under false pretenses. She discovered his true plan. He intended to arrange her marriage with Alan, the son of Lord Canine. Furious, Celine vowed she'd rather end it all than go through with the engagement. But before she could act, Lloyd appeared at the perfect moment, and Celine leapt into his arms, convinced fate had chosen him as her true groom. In the confusion, Riho pieced things together. Alan had mysteriously collapsed earlier, one of many victims of the hotel's strange curse. To save face, Lord Canine had placed Lloyd in his son's role to keep the marriage negotiations moving forward. Celine, blinded by excitement, didn't care. She dragged Lloyd to the riverside, forcing him to shower her with compliments while daydreaming about their future wedding. Just when things were getting out of hand, Riho showed up again, reminding everyone that Lloyd was only here for a field placement under lawn. Before they could get back to their investigation, Lloyd's older brother Shoma arrived. He wasn't there to hang out though. He had simply come to deliver some explosives to the hotel. After a quick introduction, Shoma left as quietly as he came, but Selene, as usual, dragged Lloyd away the first chance she got. She took him to the park, where she was acting all playful and childish. From a distance, Ku spotted them and saw an opportunity. She went over to Lloyd, offering him a massage, secretly planning to use a strange herb she'd received from Loch-Nine. But Selene caught her in the act. There was no way she'd let another girl touch Lloyd. Furious, she scared Ku off instantly. Then, as if nothing happened, she sweetly invited Lloyd to relax in the hot springs with her. That evening, things got chaotic. As Lloyd entered the baths, Riho and even Alka suddenly joined him. Alka literally pounced on him before Selene tied her up with her belt. Soon, more girls showed up, each trying to get close to Lloyd in their own way. Meanwhile, Ku stumbled into the forest, where she encountered Kanan's secretary. Except he wasn't human. His legs were tangled tree roots. He revealed himself as the Demon King of Seedlings, the very being behind the strange, trance-like sleep that had been spreading in town. Ku tried to stand her ground, scolding him for hiding all this time. But before she could react, the creature trapped her and started draining her energy. Luckily, Lloyd, searching for Alka, wandered into the forest and interrupted. At first, he thought the whole thing was just an elaborate cosplay performance. But when more tree monsters emerged, the secretary dropped the act and revealed his monstrous form. Lloyd calmly asked Ku for permission to clean up the forest, and in the blink of an eye, he wiped out the lesser monsters. The Demon King, realizing Lloyd was no ordinary boy, fled toward the hotel, where an important meeting was underway. Koba accused Kanan of being connected to the monster attacks, and suspicion began to grow. But before they could settle anything, the Demon King stormed in and tried to kill Kanan himself. A fierce battle broke out. Selene and the others threw everything they had at the monster, but their attacks barely scratched him. Just when the Demon King unleashed a deadly strike, Selene's father shielded her, getting crushed beneath falling debris. Desperate to save him, Selene tried lifting the rubble herself, but it was far too heavy. That's when Lloyd arrived, effortlessly catching the massive stones with one hand, tossing them aside like paper. The others realized Lloyd was their only hope. They explained that the Demon King's body could only be destroyed by shattering its core. Without hesitation, Lloyd leapt onto the monster, ripped the core from its chest, and crushed it, ending the battle in seconds. The secretary reverted to his human form, while Shoma, watching from a distance, couldn't help but smile at his little brother's unbelievable strength. But the danger wasn't over. Shoma had trapped Alka in a magical circle, revealing that the Holy Sword had been removed from its resting place, meaning the Ulas dungeon was about to open. Leaving Alka behind, he disappeared into the night. The next day, the hotel had been fully restored, thanks to Alka's magic after she finally escaped the trap. Selene reconciled with her father, who admitted his mistake in forcing her into marriage. This time, he promised to let her choose for herself, even blessing her union with Lloyd if that's what she wanted. Selene nearly burst with joy, clinging to Lloyd as if she'd never let go. But she wasn't the only one. Alka reminded Lloyd she had stayed up all night repairing the hotel and demanded a massage as her reward. Instead, Lloyd accidentally flipped her over with his clumsy strength, leaving everyone stunned. Meanwhile, in the shadows of a church, Shoma and Mino met with an old man named Sue. Burning with hatred for Lloyd, Mino accepted a potion that granted her terrifying demon lord-like powers. Feathers ripped out from her back as she transformed, her thirst for revenge stronger than ever. The next morning, completely unaware of the storm about to hit, Lloyd was at Mary's house serving her breakfast. Mary sat proudly, mouth open, waiting for him to feed her, not realizing Selene and the others were watching, and ready to strangle her with jealousy. And that's when Lloyd shared the king's latest order. A massive snake had appeared in a nearby dungeon, and he had volunteered to take care of it himself. Soon, everyone gathered inside the royal palace, waiting for the king's arrival. Selene was lost in her own little fantasies, but the mood shifted the moment King Azami finally made his grand entrance. His carefree, almost childish behavior irritated Chroma. Meanwhile, Shoma and Sue were plotting in the shadows. They had already discovered the location of the dangerous serpent lurking inside the dungeon, and they planned to eliminate it before anyone else could. Inside, Colin explained the strategy, how they'd enter the dungeon and where the creature was most likely hiding. But when it was time to actually step in, poor Alan froze up in fear. He quickly offered to guard the outside, leaving the real danger to the others. Mary, worried that Lloyd might be walking into a trap, decided to join him. And just as she reached the dungeon, Alka appeared too, determined to chase after Lloyd. Since Mary knew the path, she reluctantly dragged Alka along with her. Back inside, the girls cornered Riho, teasing her about whether she secretly liked Lloyd. Riho blushed and stuttered, but before she could answer, a huge explosion shook the dungeon. It was none other than Mary and Alka crashing straight into the middle of the labyrinth. While wandering deeper, Mary stumbled upon Minoko, who was bound by tree roots. But the moment she tried to help, Minoko revealed her true intentions, her hatred for Lloyd. Twisting the roots, she trapped Mary and demanded to know where Lloyd was. And when she discovered that Mary cared deeply for Lloyd, her jealousy burned even hotter. That's when Lloyd himself arrived, drawn by the explosion. Seeing Mary in danger sent him into a rage. Minoko unleashed wave after wave of attacks, controlling monstrous tree roots, but Lloyd countered them with ease. The fight escalated into a brutal clash. When Minoko learned that Lloyd was from Kunlun Village, her fury exploded. She threw everything she had at him. But Lloyd shielded his friends from her strikes, refusing to let anyone else be harmed. For a moment, Minoko thought victory was hers, but then Lloyd's full strength came out. He grabbed her like a doll and flung her high into the sky, ending the battle in seconds. Just as things calmed down, an enormous serpent appeared. Everyone braced themselves, until the creature spoke to Lloyd, calling him an old friend. This was Vritra, the guardian serpent of Kunlun Village and protector of the final dungeon gate. Their reunion was cut short when Sue suddenly appeared, exuding a dark aura that made Lloyd uneasy. Before he could act, Alka burst in, and the atmosphere turned tense. Vritra, furious at the past torment Alka had caused him, lashed out. To make things worse, it was revealed that Selen's beloved belt was actually crafted from Vritra's skin, something Alka had done long ago. The belt itself began attacking Alka in rage, creating utter chaos. Sue used the distraction to escape through a magical portal, vowing to return. Not long after, Alan entered the dungeon with soldiers, searching for Lloyd. When the glow of Sue's portal illuminated the cavern, Alan mistook a massive shadow for the serpent itself. Mustering what little courage he had, he raised his sword and charged, only for the shadow to vanish. The cavern trembled, and somehow, the soldiers believed Alan had slain the mighty serpent. The next day, the king rewarded Alan with the grand title of Dragon Slayer. The poor guy had never so much as swatted a fly, yet now the entire army bowed before him. That night, Lloyd sat in his room, troubled by the memory of Sue. The evil aura surrounding him felt strangely familiar, like someone Lloyd had known long ago. Meanwhile, at Mary's house, the girls threw a lively party. But Alka suddenly arrived, stuffing Celine into a sack and declaring that she wanted everyone to visit Kunlun Village. Their mission? To revive Vritra. Excited and curious, none of them wanted to miss the chance to see Lloyd's mysterious hometown. Each girl had her own reasons. Celine daydreamed about meeting Lloyd's parents and securing their blessing for marriage. Rio hoped the village was filled with treasure, while Mary scolded everyone to focus on the actual task. Even Chroma and Colin tagged along. Alan wanted to join too, but with his new role as Azami's representative, he was stuck training with Mina. The group eventually reached a glowing gate leading to Kunlun Village. When Alka called out, a girl named Hyuga emerged to greet them. But instead of a warm welcome, she immediately attacked Selene, furious that her plans had been ruined because of Lloyd's village ties. Alka restrained her, but Hyuga shoved everyone through the gate. What they found inside wasn't what they expected. Kunlun Village looked like any other rural town. Simple houses, peaceful streets. Lloyd was overjoyed to be home, but the others felt uneasy. They noticed the villagers moving about strangely, climbing in and out of homes without ladders or stairs. Soon after, Lloyd's grandfather returned from the nearby lake, casually hauling a massive piranha the size of a horse. He greeted his grandson warmly, while Riho, tempted by greed, tried lifting the monster fish herself. The moment she touched it, her legs nearly gave out from the crushing weight. Later, Colin and Chroma asked Alka to show them the farmlands, where they stumbled across Math, Lloyd's former comrade, still serving out his punishment by working the fields. Though they sat down to catch up, Math admitted he had no intention of returning to Azami. He'd betrayed his people once and found peace in this village. There was no going back. Meanwhile, Selene was already scheming. After meeting Lloyd's younger siblings, she couldn't resist. She pulled out a wedding invitation with her name next to Lloyd's and boldly handed it to the entire family, insisting they attend. Just as she made her announcement, a dragon's roar shook the ground. But to Lloyd's little brothers, it was nothing more than a toy. They crumpled Selen's wedding card into a paper plane and tossed it, slicing straight through the dragon's horn as if it were butter. Selen was left speechless. That night, the family gathered for a feast. Math had prepared an extravagant dinner using ingredients hunted straight from the wilds, dishes made from monsters themselves. As the meal settled, Alka pulled Hyuga aside to talk. She revealed that Sue and Shoma were plotting something dangerous to unseal the last dungeon. If they succeeded, the world could collapse into chaos. Elsewhere, Math humbled himself before Mary, apologizing for his role in Azami's downfall. He explained that a strange merchant once handed him a bizarre egg. Hoping to impress the king, he presented it, only for it to allow the Demon King Hebaton to take control. Manipulated and broken, Math had no choice but to follow. Mary pressed him for details, but all he remembered was the merchant's aura, pure evil. The next morning, everyone was jolted awake by Vritra's unstable form. With the serpent's true body destroyed, its spirit trapped inside Selen's belt wouldn't last long. Unless they revived him soon, the last dungeon seal would shatter on its own. The group set out for the dungeon entrance, a structure that looked nothing like the ruins they had expected. Hyuga explained the grim truth. The dungeon could only be opened with one key, the Holy Sword. Once the seal was broken, every demon lord trapped inside would be unleashed. To stabilize Vritra, she performed a bizarre ritual, wrapping the belt in herbs and cooking it for hours. In the end, the Guardian re-emerged, not in full strength, but reborn in an egg. But there was another twist. Alka herself was caught in the process. Her powers were stripped away, leaving her with the body of a child. Though Mary celebrated her weakness, everyone still feared what might come next. Back in Azami, the long-awaited competition was about to begin. Alan, despite his constant fear, was chosen to represent the kingdom. Lloyd and the others planned to cheer him on, but before leaving, Hyuga lured Alka into the forest. Pretending to talk privately, she pressed a hidden switch and Alka fell into a deep pit. Hyuga revealed her betrayal. She had no intention of reviving Vritra. Her true goal was to break the dungeon seal herself. While the group waited for Alka and Lloyd, Hyuga returned, claiming Alka was busy gathering weapons. Rio's suspicion grew. Something about her story didn't sit right. Meanwhile, Colin considered staying behind, but Math appeared, insisting on traveling with them. "You'll need food for the road," he said, refusing to let them go alone. As they crossed into Azami, Hyuga continued feeding them lies, saying Lloyd would join later with Alka. At the same time, Riho encountered Mina on patrol. Their brief conversation led to a shocking revelation. The one who had pushed Ral to take the cursed holy shot was none other than Sue, accompanied by a strange little girl who never let go of her candy. Riho's suspicions deepened. Sue's plan was far bigger than they had imagined. Finally, the competition arena filled with tension. Riho and Selen spotted Alan trembling, trying to sneak away before the first match. They scolded him, reminding him that he carried Azami's honor. But Alan snapped. He was tired of being mocked, tired of being told to be brave when he'd never wanted this role in the first place. High above the stadium, Sue and Shoma watched silently, their presence confirming Riho's worst fears. This wasn't just a tournament. It was the beginning of a much larger war. And far away, trapped in the darkness of the pit, Alka realized the truth. Lloyd, who was once thought to be weak, finally arrives just in time to help Alka. He remembers falling into this very pit years ago when he was just a scared boy. Back then, it was Alka who saved him. Now, the roles are reversed. With relief in her eyes, Alka embraces him. But there's no time to waste. The competition is about to begin. Meanwhile, Shoma, Hyuga, and their group believe Alka has no way back, sealing the gates of the clone village. But deep down, they know she's the type who always finds a way to interfere with their plans. The next morning, the royal competition begins. Alan steps forward, only to face a shocking opponent, Minoko, empowered with dark demonic energy. Her strength is overwhelming, and Alan's chances seem slim. This wasn't a random choice either. Sue, representing the Geo Empire, arranged for her to fight. His goal is simple: form an alliance that would make their empire unstoppable. When the king refuses, Sue threatens him, boasting that Minoko is only one of many weapons he controls. Chaos erupts. Explosions shake the stadium as swarms of monstrous grasshoppers are unleashed. The crowd panics, and adventurers hidden among the audience reveal themselves to fight back. Soldiers clash, the arena becomes a battlefield, and in the middle of it all, Shoma faces off against Matto. Their fight is brutal, with Matto demanding answers. Why betray your village? Why betray your own brother? Shoma coldly admits he grew bored of the world itself. His dream was power, dominating everyone at his will. But ironically, he didn't want Lloyd to follow the same path, so he pushed him toward becoming a soldier instead. Elsewhere, Minoko moves toward Mary, not to kill her, but in a twisted way, to show affection. Before she can, Philo steps in and sends Minoko flying with a single kick. Sue, however, proves far more dangerous, poisons them and knocks them out. Just when hope seems lost, Alan charges in and slices off Sue's arm, only to realize Sue isn't even human. Here comes the biggest twist. Sue reveals that Alka herself once created him, designed as a hero to destroy demons. But instead of disappearing after saving the world, he remained. And now he wants to kill his own creator. His twisted vision is to crown himself the new true hero before the entire kingdom, with Lloyd as his chosen successor. And then, in a burst of light, Lloyd arrives. Innocent and unaware of the chaos, he just came to cheer for Alan. But as Sue confronts him, the truth begins to sink in. The burden of destiny is suddenly on Lloyd's shoulders. When Sue unleashes a colossal golem that absorbs Minoko, Lloyd struggles to fight back. The monster crushes him to the ground again and again, leaving him doubting if he still has the strength he once had. Just when it looks like he'll be defeated, Matto steps in, reminding him why he chose the path of a soldier in the first place. If you can't even protect yourself, how will you ever protect others? Those words reignite Lloyd's spirit. He rises again, battered but determined, ready to fight not just as a soldier, but as the only one who can save everyone. Meanwhile, Rio cleverly waves Minoko's cherished handkerchief, snapping her out of her trance. With her will restored, there might still be hope to break free from Sue's control. As Minoko finally breaks free from the monster's control, Hava's focus slips. Seizing the moment, Selene snatches the crystal orb containing Vitora and shouts at it like she's scolding a stubborn child. "Stop hiding! Get out here or you'll regret it!" Trembling, Vitora reluctantly reverts back to his original form. Meanwhile, Lloyd, now fighting at his absolute peak, lifts the massive golem by one of its legs and slams it into the ground with raw strength. With a powerful incantation, he unleashes devastating magic that shatters the creature into dust within seconds. Watching from afar, Sue and Shoma exchange satisfied smiles. This is exactly what they had hoped for. Lloyd proving himself as the hero they'd been waiting for. But Lloyd is shaken. Seeing his brother standing beside Sue, he demands answers. Why, brother? Why are you with him? Before anyone can recover, a massive magical circle lights up the sky. In a single flash, all remaining monsters vanish. Everyone looks up to see Alka descending, her power radiating through the battlefield. Hava seethes with rage, but before she can retaliate, Shoma lifts her into his arms and retreats with Sue. With the war finally over, the group gathers at Mary's home. The tension eases, and for the first time in a while, laughter fills the room. As always, Alka tries to get closer to Lloyd, only to be stopped by Perslan's belt spirit, sparking yet another hilarious argument over who Lloyd should really belong to. Their bickering gets so heated that Mary finally steps in, bonking Alka on the head to calm her down. And in true Lloyd fashion, he turns the moment into a celebration, preparing a feast so delicious that everyone forgets, even briefly, about the battles still to come. With smiles, food, and a hint of mischief, this arc closes on a surprisingly heartwarming note.